Okay guys, let's go to the next part. Since we finished the database part, I just wanted to show you this. I forgot to handle the possibility of not sending the context and the endpoint. I changed my file to download documents, I think I said. So if I just add these uh, double question marks and null, basically this double question mark is basically a short ternary. So in some different programming languages, we have the possibility of have ternary checks. So instead of have a full if condition return true, or actually something is true, assigning true, else or assign false, the ternary is something like this. We have the or return or the variable to assign something. Condition question mark first if it first value if it's true, colon second value if it's false. PHP have this even more simple, but only checks for null values. All right, so this basically checks assign to the context key the first variable or null. So this would be enough to prevent that error. Updating, as you can see, so now no error was thrown. So now let's go to finally making our first method. So first I will wrap this around a try cat. So try, curly braces, catch, parenthesis, exception, $E, parenthesis, curly braces as well. So this try cat is a safe area to run a code that might generate an error. This try cat prevents the whole application to stop, to freeze, or to not work at least until the end of it. All right. So this is something that I think it is useful for Godot, for example, but I understand why they do not have this. It's just because, in my point of view, it's a way to ensure the developer, like, ensure that everything is all right beforehand, so the whole game does not freeze, I think. But I don't know. At least the possibility to use, I think it's a good idea to have. But okay, so in the try cat, so I will call the response function. The response function will have first parameter the message, so e get message. So on PHP, to call a function and actually access the property of a class as well, we use this thin arrow that is a hyphen in close angle brackets or greater than, I don't know. Instead of something dot something, it's this arrow, right? And the code, since the code can be letters, and for HTTP response we can only and should only send numbers, I will create a variable called code that it will be e get code, and I check. I will use the ternary in here. So if the e have e get code an integer, so this will be sent, else of 400, that is a bad request. All right, by default you should handle the different code. Status code is a good practice. So but by default having the bad request is a good example. Okay, so now I'm gonna check if either the data context or data endpoint is empty. So if the context or the endpoint is empty or null, so it's just 0 or null or empty quotes, I will throw an exception. And this will be assign no validity endpoint. For example, and it can be bad request, right? So this will throw an exception inside of the try cat. If not, I'll create a variable called method, for example, and the method will be data method. So I could use a different way to concatenate to create a string literals, but I will use the normal and easy way. So to concatenate the string in PHP, use a dot as a plus, right? So this will be method slash data context plus slash endpoint. All right, so this would generate something like this: get game version, for example. All right. So since this is just a string, I could call it just like this, literally, method. PHP is cool. The same way that we use a callable to call a method inside of a class using the string on Godot. PHP is straight doing this. We'll call a method, a function actually. But we have to check if the set function exists. So I will check function exists. Actually, the name method is wrong in this context. So if because method is only behaviors that is inside of class. If this is not a class, so this would be named function, right? So if this function does not exist, I will throw an exception. That will be method does not exist. All right. So if this exists, I will create a variable called response data, for example, and it will be method or null, for example. And after it, I will call the response method, passing data and 200, because if I reach this part of the function, it means everything got success. Or I could, because every single error, I would throw an exception, you know? So in theory, if I reach this, it's just success. Actually, I do not need to pass. So this is response data as well. So in theory, we already have something. So I will create a function called get game version, for example. I will create a data parameter, and actually I will have data and PDO that I will explain soon. So this void, this I would equal, for example, yay, Actually, I will return yay. All right, so I will save it. So here I will add a context game and endpoint version. Just forgot I set the void type. It's not a void type. Guys, I forgot. It's not slash, it's underscore. All right, I totally forgot for some reason. All right, so before we test, as you can see, I set the parameter PDO. This PDO is a way to connect to database. All right, we have in PHP, I'm pretty sure. All right, we have at least 3 native ways to connect to databases. And the best one and the best way to do it is with PDO. PDO is a class to allow you to connect and run DDL and I think DML and SQL as well. Every single different database management system, all right? So this is the best way to do it, all right? So how can we do it? So first, I'll create a variable called PDO that will be equals to PDO, new PDO. And this PDO have use a string, right? And this string will be MySQL colon host. Here we're gonna append this database data, right? Before I start, here in the array merge data get and post, I will merge as well the database. All right. So now here I will say MySQL colon host equals to period data host. Then semicolon db name equals to data db comma data user comma data password. Actually, I will use db user and db pass, and I will change in here in this db user and db pass, because if I use the same keys in a body request, it will conflict. All right, so so the string should be MySQL colon host and the IP or the address. Semicolon db name equals to the db, the database name. In my case is game, remember? So in this case would be League of Legends in that example. Comma the db username, in my case root, comma data db pass, that in my case is root as well. So now I have the PDO. Here in the method, I should pass the data and the PDO, right? So this should be able to connect to the database, all right? So let me test if this yay is returned. So as you can see, here we have yay. So that's for now.